If you ever looked at your payslip and thought, this doesn't make sense, then you are not alone. Hi, my name is Gary Bamba. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where we discuss things around how to help newly qualified nurses, overseas nurses, experienced nurses, or returning nurses working within the NHS. How you can grow, what you can learn, and how you can be better as a nurse in the NHS. Many nurses don't struggle because they are bad with money. They struggle because nobody explained how NHS pay actually works. Do we agree to that? Today I'm going to explain your NHS contracts, your banding, and your pay so you can protect yourself, plan well, and work with confidence. So stay along with me. Most nurses in the NHS are paid using a national pay system called Agenda for Change, right? And what does this really explain? Agenda for Change is set pays bands. So we have from band 2s to band 9. Nurses usually will start as a band 5. And each band has pay points in brackets like increments. Okay, your band reflects your role and responsibilities, not your value as a person. And progression within a band happens annually if performance expectations are met. Now, notice that word, if performance expectations are met. And some of the trusts, especially for my trust, one of the things that helps you to engage or to experience pay progression would be that your e-learnings is up to date, your yearly appraisals has been done. If these are not done, you possibly might have delayed pay progression. So that's something else you want to find out as well. So pay progression is not just about it's automated, it's automatic every year or every 2 years I have to get payment and increase in payment or increase in wages. You don't necessarily have to in some trusts, especially my trust. You must have had some performance accreditation done. You must have had some level of learnings that you've engaged with and a percentage that you have attained before you can even be given that pay progression. Progression in bands happens yearly, but sometimes it's every 2 years. So I know for band 5, I'm not too sure, but for band 5 I think it's yearly, but band 6 definitely is every 2 years. You get increments. For lower bands, I would think for lower bands it's yearly, but for higher bands it's every 2 years. How increments pay really works. So we have annual increment dates. So if peradventure you started your job in the NHS from maybe the 2nd of January 2026, you are expected to have another increment in salaries by 2nd of January 2027. So there's a yearly increment that happens if you are within the cadre of yearly increments. So it's always from the start date of starting within the NHS. Then we have also the condition for progressions. Like I mentioned, you must have met some sort of requirement to be able to attain progression in your pay. Appraisals and mandatory training. Yes, some of the conditions are that appraisals and mandatory trainings that you must have attained for you to be able to have pay progression or have increments in your pay. What can delay increments? When there is a missed appraisal or when there is incomplete mandatory training, it can delay your pay increase, it can delay your pay progression. It is, even though you are eligible for your pay progression, if these things are not met, you possibly might not have that progression done at that time. So they will have to wait till you meet those expectations. This is why you cannot owe appraisals, and that was why in my last video I said that some of the policies you want to read is policies around appraisals. When I newly came into the country, I never knew there was a yearly appraisal, and I didn't even know that my manager would kind of like do it on her own and then submit it for me. Or I think there was even a time where I moved ward and the new manager had to reach out to the old manager to say, when was the last time you appraised Funke, because we can't see any record of that. Do you see? Because of my ignorance, because it is my responsibility as well to know about my appraisals, right? Because it's for my own progressions. It's for my own career, pathways progression. But I never knew anything about it because maybe where I came from, I don't think we do appraisal in Nigeria. Where I've come from, I don't really think so. But yeah, so this is something you want to really read about, policies on appraisals, and you want to be asking your manager when that time comes that, please, when am I supposed to be doing my appraisal? So if you are, for instance, if you are employed 2nd of January, so you want to have a conversation around your appraisal maybe from like November, December, before that January again, so that you must have done that. They must have sent it across to the payroll team, and that can get updated and uploaded for you to be able to get your pay progression by the time the year gets to 2nd of January the following year. So always confirm, within your trust how that is, enhancement is calculated, because we also have enhancements, right? And these are things that you want to look at in your pay slips. Some of the things you can do to really help you with that, if you can email some payroll team and say if they can give you explanations around how enhancement is calculated within your trust, yeah, by all means do that. You want to ask, okay, weekend enhancements, how is it calculated, when is it paid? For instance, now weekend enhancement is usually whether weekend or bank holidays or maybe night enhancement, right? For those that do night, it's usually paid. So if you do that within maybe January, you will get paid for the January enhancement in your February salaries or wages. So you don't necessarily get it in that same month, right? So all those things you need to be aware of. But how is it calculated? You need to know. You can ask payroll team, or you can even compare two pay slips from two different months. Based on what you did, look at your hours on your calendar, right? The hours that you've worked, what hours are you entitled to. These are things that you really want to really take note of, because I just really remembered that there were times that I was doing a lot of 4 nights. Then I used to be on permanent night, so I would do 4 nights, and someone one day recently just told me, forget your hours, the hours you're doing is a lot. You're supposed to be doing 7.5 hours. Have you calculated it? And truly, lo and behold, they were owing me hours. My managers was owing me hours, and she never told me about it because obviously I did not know. So these are some of the things you really want to sit down and do a lot of calculations around it to ensure that what you are being paid for or what you are doing is in alignment to what your contract carries. And that's why that contract, you must read it. I'm guilty of that as well. I don't read contracts. You see, all these new habits that I'm learning to like read contract, read policies came about when I became an educator, because I now had more understanding of why it is important and why I have to read it. Okay, so you must take time to read your contract. You don't have to read everything in a day. You can take it step by step. You can read about your hours you're contracted. You can read about your career progression. You can read about the leave and allowances, what you're entitled to, all those sort of things. You must know about it so that you're not shortchanged. Yeah, so that you are not sidelines. Right? So yeah, you need to know about it. Now, understanding your pay slip. So basically what we should look out for in our pay slip is, obviously we have our basic pay. So for some of us that works Monday to Friday, all we get is basic pay. All we get is basic pay. So if you work just within the normal working hours, you most likely be getting paid just basic pay. But when you begin to work weekends, when you begin to work on social hours, or when you begin to work nights, or when you begin to work public holidays, bank holidays, you would get an enhancement pay that would also be sitting underneath your basic pay on your pay slip. So look out for that. There's also pension. Pension will be automatically and added to your payment wages plan. So it now depends on you if you want to opt out. People opt out, and I think you opt out before 5 years into that pension. Once you're 5 years into the pension, you can't opt out again. That's what was applicable to me. Because at some point I wanted to opt out and said, give me my pension money. At the end of the day, people are going to tax me when I want to collect it. But unfortunately, I'd passed 5 years, and that was what they told me from the payroll team, that I can't. I just have to keep paying the pension. So yeah, I have got my pension going. So you will see your pension at the place of your deduction. You also see tax and NI. Yeah, so there's the tax that is collected, and there's also an NI, your national insurance pay, that is also collected. And peradventure, if you have student loan, that would also be something that will be deducted in your deduction session. Your pay slip is your legal document, so you should understand it. And some of the things that I still find very confusing as well, to be honest, is the tax code, right? But one thing I know is that the basic tax code for everyone is, I think it's called 1250L, if I'm not mistaken. But don't get me wrong, I'm not a tax person. If you really want to know more about tax and code, I think you should reach out to the HMRC. Those are the ones that really have an understanding of it, and they can share more light on it. And can I even shock you? Some of them don't even have an understanding of it, because I know I've rang before and somebody was saying, yeah, I think you are correct. I think I'm like, oh, you don't even know what you are saying. But it's very important you have an understanding of it. Some of the things I would highlight for you is that when you notice your task code changes or had changed from what it was before to the new one, please reach out immediately to know why. Do you see? There will be a reason why. Is either you've gone past the pay brand, or maybe something that happened. I don't know. But reach out immediately to know why. Yeah. And then some of the things you also want to look at in your contract is your annual leave, sick pay, and pension basics. Right? So you need an explanation around your annual leave segment, and that can be found in your policy, the trust policy, right? With your public holidays, how it's been calculated, and how it's been added to your annual leave. So I know that for those that work on the ward, because sometimes you have to work on public holidays, you tend to receive that as an additional days to your annual leave, right? Your contracted annual leave. And there are sites on the internet where they give you a calculation of your annual leave based on the number of hours you're working. So if you're working 37.5, which is the full-time job for NHS, you have a certain number of days for a particular number of band. If you're working lesser, you have a certain. So there is a link. I'm going to add that as well for you to engage with, so that you can have good understanding of how to really calculate your annual leave. And like I was saying before, if you are working Monday to Friday and you have to have bank holidays off, like me, then obviously you don't have to do anything around your bank holidays as an addition to your annual leave. You basically just be taking it off as it comes, right? You also want to look at your sick pay structure. You can find it on the internet. That's the blessings of working within the NHS and working in this kind of environment. Everything is just there on the internet for you to learn and share and know more about it, which I'm going to be adding that also to today's video. NHS pension schemes, if you're not sure of it, look at the providers. They usually will send what they call P60 at the end of each tax year, and that kind of like gives an information around your pension pay. You even see that at the bottom of your pay slip as well, but it gives an explanation of it. And if you want to know more about it, maybe you want to know the provider, so that you can get more knowledge about what exactly have I acquired over time and all sort of things like that. You can always find out from the payroll team. They would link you up with them, right? Okay. So now I want you to go back. Here is some of the things I want you to do. I want you to go back, look at your contracts for those that have just been newly employed, right? Even if you've been employed for a long time, you want to go back to it, right? And look at it very well, digest it. What exactly is it saying, and what exactly it is that you need to know, and what are things that you don't know much about that you want to find out. And I think that would help you to give more insight about what exactly your contract entails, and how you can, better maximize your pay and the entitlement you have within the contracts of working in the NHS. I hope these have been very insightful and helpful for you. Please, if you'd like me to talk more around anything else, as a newly qualified nurse, an aspiring nurse, a returning nurse, an overseeing nurse is like me, please feel free to drop it in the comment section, and I would be more than happy to research more on it and share more light on it for you. In my next episode, we're going to talk about induction, preceptorship, and supernumerary stage. Supernumerary is like when you first start into the trust, that time where you have to following everybody to learn. Yeah, we're going to talk more about it in the next episode, so you don't really want to miss this. If this has been helpful for you, click that subscribe button, and stay notified for my next video when I upload. Thank you. Have an amazing day. God bless you. Bye.